What up, it's Jack, aka Just a Cunt here, and this weekend is UFC 318 being headlined by Maximus Holloway and Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Enough with the ramble, let's get into the picks and predictions. Starting off with Carly Judice versus Nicolay Cagliari. Not starting off too fast, taking it nice and slow in the beginning. Want to get these guys in their seats at a reasonable time. So looking at this fight, it is pretty simple. Carly is very solid on the feet, coming off some KO wins. 4-2, 8-3 comparable record. She's the bigger fighter by far, longer reach. They are about the same age. She's technically a bit younger, 26 to Nicolay, I'm just going to call her Nicole. Nicole's 28. Nicole is a little bit more grappling focused, has a mixture of submissions and KOs. Main things could be the deciding factor in this fight is Carly's reach compared to Nicole's well-roundedness. And I'm not talking about her fat ass, I'm talking about her ability to mix up the game. Now, me personally, while normally I would go for the grappling heavier Nicole with the more experienced, a little bit older. When you're both this young, sometimes being that bit older kind of gives you an advantage. But Carly is coming off some momentum, some wins, compared to Nicole, who is coming off I would say a fight she won, but still close fight. Good chance Nicole can mix in the takedowns, make this interesting, but I'm going to trust Carly have a large size advantage, and at WMA, not having to worry about the grappling as much. I think she's going to win by a relatively comfortable 29-28, kind of boring kickboxing fight. Moving on. Bruno Ferreira versus Jackson McVeigh. This bro has been booked for like 3 fights back to back, and they've all fallen through. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be on the last card, and maybe even on the Ilya card, but I know he's at least supposed to be on one of those cards, and he had like a couple fights in a row. He's a pretty good prospect. Looking at his fights, he is a Joel Alvarez-esque. That'd be my comparison. That'd be my scouting report. Would be Joel Alvarez. He is a long, rangy striker that kind of does a good job mixing in jiu-jitsu with his striking. He has some submissions along the cage. I'm pretty sure he's a standing guillotine. He's a Darce. He has a KO on the fence. He has a ground and pound. He's very well rounded. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He's young, but nonetheless, he is someone that does a good job, that knows how to finish a fight, which I think is impressive. Even on the original thing, at this younger age, a lot of fighters kind of struggle doing that. So seeing someone this young be able to do it is interesting. Bruno Ferreira, very solid guy, not bad whatsoever. This is a big step up from Jackson's other opponents. He's supposed to fight the fucking one dude that got fucking put on house arrest and couldn't fight because he was on house arrest. I forget his name. But he was going to smoke that kid. This one's a little bit more difficult. It's kind of one of those things where if I pick Jackson McVeigh, it's going to be on a showing of face that, he's just as good as he is, because obviously, regional talent can be very wish-washy, where Bruno Ferreira at least has some UFC experience. I'm going to go on a limb and say Jackson McVeigh. He's longer reach, significantly taller. Very good, very well rounded, prevents a threat everywhere. I wouldn't bet on this fight necessarily, just because Bruno Ferreira has the UFC. He has the UFC experience compared to Jackson, this is going to be his UFC debut. But I'm going to trust Jackson. I think he's going to be able to be a double threat and able to mix in the game, mix in his tools to beat someone like Bruno Ferreira. Moving on. Ryan Spann versus Lucas Brzeski. Why the fuck are you still in the UFC, bro? Why are you still in the UFC? There's certain times as an MMA fan, I've always wondered myself, what if I were to be a UFC fighter? What if I got rocked? How would I react? What would be? How would I be able to hold my composure? Would I start swinging? Would I shoot for a takedown? I don't know. And then I saw Ryan Spann fight Waldo Cortez Acosta on a Fight Night card. Now, if you're not a hardcore, you may not have seen this level of technical ability, this technical display of skills was something to behold, and honestly, I don't know why he isn't the main event. After being dropped repeatedly by Waldo Cortez Acosta, rocked on his, about to be put on his shield, literally ice skating around the ring like Elsa, he decides to throw a spinning heel kick 10 feet away from Waldo Cortez Acosta and fall on his ass. And that level of skill cannot be doubted. I mean, that's a level of athleticism, fight IQ, kind of everything you can ask for. John Jones retired because of Ryan Spann. That's all I gotta say. I'm picking Ryan Spann. I'm not joking about that. Lucas also sucks ass. Got rocked. Ryan, he was knocked out better people, I guess. I don't know. Would he prefer either one of these flukes the other? But I'm gonna go with Ryan Spann by KO. I'm not gonna waste too much time trying to break down this fluky ass fight. Moving on. Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. Jimmy Crute, man, such a weird fighter. He's such a weird fighter. I mean, he's had potential. He's had good wins before. He never looks bad. He's a really good grappler. He's just quite shit on the feet. This compared to Marcin Prachnio, who is... he is on the roster. He can say he's a UFC fighter. That's about it. I want to believe in Jimmy Crute just because he does have talent, and he has had some unfortunate losses like the Anthony Smith loss. He still was winning that fight. He was passing the Smith's test. You know, he got the I forget what nerve it is that shuts off your fucking leg, like Sean O'Malley and Henry Cejudo. But he was doing good in that fight and even took down Anthony Smith. And if the fight kept going, I also understand why they stopped, just because his leg was literally couldn't stand on it, was shutting off. He was winning that fight. And he got knocked out by Jamal Hill. You know, he's had some unfortunate fights. He kind of strikes like he's walking on Legos. He's just not the most dynamic athlete. Just always seemed a little bit Humpty Dumpty with the way he moves around. I'm going to go with Jimmy Crute. Marcin Prachnio is just very unremarkable, where Jimmy Crute at least has highlights of being a competent fighter. And... you know, similar sizes, similar physicality. I think Jimmy Crute's going to be implement the grappling pretty good. Marcin Prachnio coming off a loss. Jimmy Crute having a draw in his last fight, which was interesting. I'm going to go with Jimmy Crute, but, you know, it's not something I'm 100% confident, but I'm going to go with Jimmy Crute. Moving on. Adam Fuckett versus Islam Dulatov. Yeah, I'm going with Islam. Fuck it. You know, he's fighting someone with zero reach, zero height, zero leg reach. He may have this in the back, no, but seriously, mini Rico Verhoeven, I think, is gonna slump this kid. I mean, there's not too much to say. It's kind of a whatever fight. Look out for Islam. You know, maybe you know, keep an eye on him. He's a very solid fighter, but this is kind of a very layup fight, very easy, very much a can-crushing moment. So yeah, there should be an easy win for Islam Dulatov. Moving on to Ateba Gautier versus Robert Valentine, the victim of, what the fuck is that big fucking turtle's name? Fuck, the one boring cunt that held him against the fence for ring. He's got some cool rune tattoos. I'm pretty sure he got like an elbow KO on Tough, if I remember. I don't remember that season that well, but I remember something about this like guy with rune tattoos getting like a cool elbow tattoo. But nonetheless, I'm going with Gautier. Robert Valentine isn't bad. He is solid. He has some good performances, good finishes. He is a go-for-it fighter. He's, you know, unfortunate last fight, but he's, you know, he's just not that big for this division. He just he's long and tall, but he's not the most, you know, like it's weird, like he's shorter than Gautier, but he looks physically way smaller. So he's not the biggest guy, he's not the strongest. Good striking, but I think Gautier is going to be able to knock him out. Gautier is very impressive, coming off big wins, having great power, strength, athleticism. Overall, just a very physically imposing person, and I think he should be able to get the win by finish. I'm going to say in the second round. Moving on. Francisco Prado versus Nicolay. I'm not saying that shit. Interesting fight. Francisco Prado, little bit younger, a little bit smaller, but you know, having a little bit more success in the last fight. But both these guys coming off losses, not the greatest fighters in the world. I'm gonna go with Nicolay due to a size advantage, reach advantage, bigger guy. I'm not gonna claim I'm super familiar with both of these guys. I can give a crazy technical breakdown, but I'm gonna go with Nicolay. But nonetheless, moving on. Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. Now I see a lot of people kind of confused on this fight, like, oh, this is kind of, I don't know what to think about this fight. Maybe, you know, Vettori can headbutt his way to a victory. Maybe he can do the shittiest pull counter I've ever seen. Maybe he could do a jab where his right hand is nowhere by his chin and he's like weirdly looking at you in the most autistic way possible. When you go chromosome to chromosome with anyone, Brendan Allen was one of my top picks. And in all seriousness, if I want to have a serious point here, I think Brendan Allen's going to win this pretty clearly, particularly because he's a little bit more dynamic on the feet. He uses kicks a lot more, uses kicks better. He has competed really well with guys like Imavov, Anthony Hernandez. He's not getting blown out in any of these fights. Well, yes, is chinny. Marvin Vettori isn't the type of guy I expect to really exploit that. Now, he did fucking drop, or he did hurt Jared Cannonier, so there's a chance. But even if I don't think Brendan Allen is going to dominate Marvin Vettori on the ground, because Marvin is pretty solid on the ground, I just think having the reach, particularly in the legs, I just think he's going to be able to use it better with his height. And I think he's just going to be able to mix in a little bit more kicks, mix in a little more clinches, put him against the fence here and there. I think it's going to be one of those fights where it's going to be quite boring and Brendan Allen is going to look super impressive, but Vettori's going to keep trying to box in, and Brendan Allen is going to be able to extra a little bit more. Sorry about that. Had some shit I had to go take care of real quick. Anyway, going back up the card, Brendan Allen should be able to win this fight pretty convincingly, I think. I don't think it's going to be a crazy impressive performance, but I think where other guys were able to edge him out before, like Imavov and Hernandez, I don't think Vettori's going to have that same ability, that same game to mix it up. Moving on, Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Now, I remember Kyler Phillips. He was the guy that was a fun prospect. I'm pretty sure he comes at the same gym as O'Malley, Arizona. He then lost to Hylian Piver, the fucking O'Malley's wife. He went to a draw with him, and unfortunately, he did look good in that fight, and I do think that fight should have been a draw or something. But he gassed out real hard. You know, he's had good performances, but then, you know, lost to Rob Font, you know, he's kind of one of these guys that he's not that next level. He's kind of peaked as a prospect. It's kind of where he's going to be, where he's like a Pedro Munoz level guy, a little bit above that, good mix-up, good well-rounded game, but not someone that quite puts it all together to really make it to the next level. On the other hand, Vinicius Oliveira, I think, is really good. I think he has a good bit of experience. He is pretty big for his division, quite tall, can mix up the game quite well, has a good, well-rounded game, and I think I'm going to lean this way towards Vinicius Oliveira. While Kyler Phillips definitely can make it competitive with anyone, and I think he has the skill sets to compete with anyone, and he doesn't have the best cardio, been rocked, been hurt, doesn't have crazy power, and is someone I don't really, at this point, I don't feel it's dangerous enough to put him against this next level opponent. So I'm going to go with Vinicius Oliveira by decision. Moving up, Michael Johnson, my boy, my St. Louis brother, versus Daniel Zellhuber. You are losing this fight. Yeah, I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber. There's nothing much to say. Michael Johnson's had some good wins, coming off some KO wins. I was in Tampa. I was there live in the nosebleeds, taking a gander, and he knocked the bald fuck out, the big nose cunt out. And fair play, good job, Michael Johnson. But you've had your yearly, in terms of like in the span of a year, highlight KO, and now you have to get embarrassed by Daniel Silva. I'm sorry, that's the trade. 2400 Dustin KO. what's going to be the 20th time you're going to get fucking embarrassed. So I'm going to say Daniel Hubert's going to whoop your ass. I'm sorry. Bigger, taller, longer. He should be able to outstrike Michael Johnson pretty convincingly. And I think he's actually going to win by TKO, I'm going to say in the 3rd round. In a semi-competitive fight where I think Michael Johnson can hurt him or land some good shots. But overall, with Daniel Hubert's going to do a little bit more to really push past Michael Johnson and continue and get back on the win streak. Get back on the green side. Moving on. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Now this fight is actually one of the most difficult to predict in my opinion. I think Dan Ige and Patricio Pitbull are actually perfect opponents for each other in terms of Dan Ige is someone that does really good with his boxing, very defensively sound, very hard to hurt. He's someone that even against Josh Emmett, he's very hard to finish. He's very good defense. He has good power, nothing insane, but he's good accuracy. You saw that in the Philly fight, was able to land a devastating overhand right, able to catch Lerone Murphy, sorry. My fault. And is over a very powerful guy, you know, on literally 4 hours notice. Damn near 10-8'd Diego Lopez. Very well rounded everywhere. Kind of a hard guy to dominate, but kind of struggles sometimes being a smaller guy against longer, taller opponents. Patricio Pitbull, someone who is also quite small, even for 145. He is someone that does work good against fighters who are his size. I feel like his boxing is able to get off more, he's able to land those shots. Patricio Pitbull is someone that's not the best point fighter. He kind of relies on getting big moments in rounds to steal them, whether that be a knockdown, hurting the opponent, maybe a submission attempt. Where I feel like it's going to be an interesting game where Dan Ige is going to he's going to pressure Pitbull. Pitbull's going to be bouncing back and forth, trying to land a shot over Dan Ige's jab, rocking him and hurting him. Now, if Pitbull was a bit younger, he didn't look horrible in the Yair fight, and that's a really hard fight for him, even in his prime, just how big and long Yair is, and he is someone that can compete with him kind of in all areas of the game, where Pitbull is someone that he struggles to mix in his grappling against higher level guys, and I don't think he's really going to be able to against Dan Ige unless he's able to hurt him, which I think is possible just because Patricio is very sharp, and he is a good striker in terms of having big moments. He's someone that can change the course of a fight very quickly. He knocked out Michael Chandler, very impressive, but he's older now, coming off a loss. You know, he's been finished in the last couple of fights. I think there's a decent shot that Patricio edges this fight against Dan Ige out just by hurting him more here and there and being a little bit sharper in terms of being a little bit more defensively sound, holding him against the fence, etc. But I'm going to go with Dan Ige. I think he has some momentum. He is someone who never really has lost bad in a fight. So I feel like he had a level of confidence that he can knock out anyone, that he still land that shot. And I think he's going to be able to hurt Patricio Pitbull and win by a competitive but comfortable decision. Moving on. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Finally, I could pick Kevin Holland without fucking being scared. But it's probably the type of fight that Kevin Holland's going to lose. I think this fight's going to be more competitive than it needs to be. I think Daniel Rodriguez is a similar archetype to Kevin Holland in the sense of he's a long boxer that kind of just scraps on the feet, where Kevin Holland just has more tools. He has the jiu-jitsu, he uses the kicks, he's a little bit more defensively sound, better chin power, better power. He's almost a better version of Daniel Rodriguez. But I do think Kevin Holland is going to fight Daniel at his best and try to just box with him. Kind of a backyard George barbecue brawl. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Kevin Holland's going to go in there and try to just outbox Daniel Rodriguez. And I think he's going to hurt him here and there. I think Daniel Rodriguez is going to have moments where he catches Holland in a, good solid fight where he seems to fight whole time. He has a little bit longer reach, but I think Kevin Holland is going to make up with that by being taller, a little bit more experienced. It seems like he's more comfortable using his jiu-jitsu now, so I think if he's able to rock or trip Daniel, he's going to be able to use the jiu-jitsu to either control him or maybe even try and get a submission on him. So I think this is going to be a more competitive fight than it needs to be, but I think Kevin Holland is going to win this by decision, maybe even a TKO. I can see it. Daniel Rodriguez kind of chinny. Moving on to the main event. Paulo Costa has come out of hibernation. He has cut down the weight. He's out of bear mode, and he's ready to get 29-28 by Roman Kopylov. Paulo Costa shit. I don't know. I have lost all hope in Paulo Costa. He looks shit. He has decent chin. He's slow. He has bad cardio. He has bad power. He is shitty on the feet. He is shitty on the ground, and couldn't even drop a. I don't even know how old Luke Rockhold. Looks like shit. Marvin Torrey. He made Marvin Torrey look like a marauder. Dog shit. Couldn't do anything to Sean Strickland. Couldn't go forward at all. Maybe his mindset has changed since the Izzy loss, but honestly, I think he's just fighting actual competent people. I think besides that Yoel Romero fight, he has looked shit. He hit Robert Whittaker with a flush spinning heel kick to the jaw and couldn't drop him. I know people are like, oh my god, Robert Whittaker. I'm like, what the fuck is Paulo Costa doing? He has no power. He's not going to be able to beat Roman Kopylov. I don't think he's going to be schooled in this fight, but I think he's going to do his best smile menacingly performance while getting completely outskilled, out tit-for-tatted on the feet, where Roman Kopylov is going to be not fucking retarded, is going to actually try and win. He's going to mix in kicks. He's going to use the teep kick. I think he's going to mix in the kicks well, kind of put Paulo Costa, keep Paulo Costa shelled up, kind of keep Paulo Costa. He's very quick to just put his hands on his forehead like he's praying to make sure he doesn't get hit. He's not the best at moving his head that well. And in general, he's a Pokemon battle fighter in the sense of he goes and then he waits. He goes and then he waits. He goes, then you go. He goes, then you go. He doesn't counter. He can't really. The only way he's going to win this fight is he's going forward the full time, landing good body shots, which I think he can. I think if he focused on the jab to the body kicks, try to mix it up, and just keeps Roman Kopylov moving backwards, which Roman can do. He's not someone that's always forward. But I think in terms of momentum right now, Roman Kopylov, who's a bit older, going to be in his physical prime, going to be in his technical prime with the momentum going forward, coming off a TKO win over Chris Curtis in a pretty solid performance. And it's not easy to do that against Chris Curtis. I think Chris Curtis is harder to hit consistently than Paulo Costa. In addition to this, Paulo Costa is someone that is having big, long layoffs. He's not in the octagon enough, right? It feels like he fights like once every other year or once a year, if that. I think size-wise, he's not going to really be able to implement as much. He's definitely going to be the bigger fighter here, but looking at the Sean Strickland fight, I just have no reason to believe that Paulo Costa can enforce his will on fighters like he used to. I'm going to say Roman Kopylov. I'm going to say by decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if Paulo Costa get TKO, but Roman Kopylov's not some crazy finisher that I'm going to bet the house he's going to head kick Paulo Costa, but it's possible. So yeah, I'm going to go Roman Kopylov by comfortable 30-27 decision. Moving on to the main event. Maximus Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. Sad to see. It's a sad fight. It's a bittersweet fight. It's a better term for it. It's bittersweet. I'm going to be having a smile on my face this whole time. Before bantamweights had the best 5-round main events, it was lightweights. Dustin Poirier put on some bangers. Eddie Alvarez, banger. Justin Gaethje, banger. Dan Hooker, banger. Banger fucking fights. And I think this one's going to be no different. I'm curious to see how Poirier approaches this. This is his last fight. This is his last hurrah. I think he's going to be aura farming this whole fight. I think he's going to want as many TikTok edits as possible. And I think that's going to give him a bigger shot in this fight, but also risk him getting finished. Max Holloway, coming off a loss to Ilia Topuria, where I actually thought he looked very good in that fight. Technically amazing. His boxing I never think looked better than it did in that fight, and he was mixing up the game. He was fighting very smart. He wasn't letting Ilia get into his head. He wasn't thinking about the moment. And I think he's going to be similar, where I don't think Dustin Poirier's retirement is going to mess with him too much. I don't think he's going to be discouraged to go for the win. I think he's still going to come forward and do what it takes to win. I don't think he's someone that's going to be in awe of Dustin Poirier in his retirement. I think he's going to be respectful, of course, but I think he's going to go in there and do what it takes to win. Now, what does it take to win against something like Dustin Poirier? I think volume, I think smart pressure, I think the kicks, and I think overall, even mixing in a takedown here and there. I wouldn't mind if Holloway mixed in a shot against Poirier. But I think overall this fight's going to be on the feet 90% of the time. And I think what's going to happen is Max Holloway is going to come out, hop on the side, try to just jab at Poirier, kind of stay out of range, stay safe. We'll focus on landing the spinning back kicks, oblique kicks, kind of just start touching Poirier, land the jab. And then as the fight goes on, I see him starting to just put on more and more pressure. He may be a little bit more tentative coming from that Max Holloway fight, especially from when Dustin Poirier was another person that rocked him like that. And Dustin is someone that could do similar stuff to Ilya. So I think Max is going to be a little bit more tentative. Might not be as pressure heavy as much until the later rounds. But I do feel like overall in the early rounds, Poirier is going to be the more pressuring fighter. He's going to be coming forward. Similar approach, I feel, almost as he did against Justin Gaethje, in terms of trying to just put a lot of pressure on Max, close that distance, try to land the jab, land good body shots. But I feel that what's going to hurt Poirier is his lack of mobility, his inability to mix up the game. He has a really bad body kick, and that's about it. And I think he's not going to have the same oomph on his punches. He's an older guy. He's got a lot of hip surgeries, hurt his hit against Islam. He's going to, I think, swing big and go for big knockouts. But I think to knock out Max, you can't just swing big overhands. He's hittable, but he's hittable with straight shots. He's hittable in combination. He doesn't move his head the best, but I feel like if you're coming in there just throwing big overhands like Korean Zombie, you're going to risk yourself from getting countered, because Max Holloway is very good in the pocket and very good countering as well. So I feel that as the fight goes on, Max is going to be able to land better 1-2s. I think he is going to mix up head kicks. Poirier is still someone that is, in my opinion, susceptible to head kicks. I feel that Max Holloway is going to be able to mix up the game, land good body shots. Poirier, I feel, is going to get more and more tired. I don't think he's going to gasp any means. He's in great shape, and he's always had good cardio, but compared to Max, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. And I think Max is just going to do a better version of what he did the first fight, where he's able to be more defensively sound in terms of not being caught as much, and then also having bigger moments with the spinning back kicks. I wouldn't be sorry if you rock Poirier with a head kick. And I could even see him getting a TKO in the 4th or 5th rounds. You know what? I'm gonna put my dick on the table. I think Max Holloway is going to get a 4th round TKO on the fence, similar to how he did against Anthony Pettis. Nonetheless, going into this card's actually not it's solid. I mean, I'm not going to act like it's a great card. I made a video as to how I would rearrange certain fights. There's interesting matchups. There's some fun fights that I think there's going to be some highlights on this card. I think it's going to be a fun card to watch. But still, you know, I know Dustin Poirier, I hate when they have a fight card not only without a championship fight, but not enough contender fight. Like, Peter Yan should have been on this card. I've said this. There should be more interesting fights on here to, you know, spice it up a little bit. Have fans be like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be the most not high level, but it's going to be the most like sport changing. But you know, at least we get to see some fun fighters. But nonetheless, it's solid. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll have its moments. Yeah. Nonetheless, I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys want to see next. Have a good one.